Hello students, myself Mohammad Ramiz. I welcome you all on behalf of Saraswat International Academy. My subject is social science and today we are going to see the chapter number 8, that is natural resources. So students, in the last lecture we have studied about natural resources, its uses and types. Natural resources such as air, water, land, coal, petroleum and different minerals are all gifts of nature to human beings. So we must conserve these resources. Conservation means judicious or wise use of these resources. As you can see in that slide, today our topic is planning and conservation of resources. The first point, human needs are unlimited while the resources are limited. So we will discuss this point with an example. We know that all over the world the demand of petroleum is too high and comparatively its supply is less, because it is one of the resources coming in the category of non-renewable resource which cannot regenerate easily. So in the same way, there are many other resources whose demand is unlimited, but those resources are scarce. So we need to conserve the natural resources. Now the second point. During last 100 years, usage of the resources has increased very much due to extraordinary development of science and technology and due to population explosion. In the past years, the science and technology have developed a lot. There is more industrialization, and these industries require more land. So people destroy forests for the purpose of getting land. These industries require more energy resources such as coal, petroleum for production, and these resources are also scarce. And we do know that population is increasing in the world, so demand of different resources are constantly increasing, and at the same time, for fulfilling the needs, people are destroying the nature. Now the third point, severe implication will have to be experienced in future if a serious thought is not given to this matter. So it is the duty of all of us to conserve the resource for the future generation. Resources should be conserved and should be used rationally. So it is the responsibility of each and everyone that to take care of the resources, otherwise its bad result outcome have to be faced by everyone. This we had discussed earlier in the concept of sustainable development also, that we have to conserve the resources for the future generation also. We have to use the resources rationally, judiciously. Now we will see the fourth point. The word conservation is directly related to the scarcity of resources. This point explains us that resources are scarce, that is why we have to conserve it. Scarce means insufficient to the demand. Now the fifth point. If the resources are exploited at the current rate, where they are exploited haphazardly and irrationally, then it will be a dream to maintain the development and current lifestyle. Humans had used these natural resources at a very fast rate without thinking its result. We do deforestation, cutting down the trees, and it leads to the result of soil erosion, and the soil is losing its fertility. Industrialization has caused the problem of waste disposal and pollution. So we should take measure to conserve our natural resources. Now the sixth point, it includes things like its rational usage, its conservation and reusage. It means we have to use resource in judicious and wise way and have to try to reuse some of the resources which we can. Now the seventh point, when there is a danger of existence on the life of a tree or a human life, the arrangement made for it is called a conservation. So conservation is done to protect something from getting extinct. And here in this point it is said, if we don't conserve resources, then life will be danger for all. Now let us understand about the planning and the conservation of resources in detail. First point, first of all, gather information about the availability of utilized, unutilized, and probable resources of any region or a country as a unit. So, first of all, we have to make a list of the resources which are in used, unused, and the resources which we can probably use in near future of a particular region, area, or country. Now, the second point, the resources which are limited or non renewable should be exploited scientifically and should be used only where it is necessary to use them. So, resources which are exhaustible, or you can say non renewable resource such as petrol, coal, etc., should be used very judiciously, and like we have to use it when it is very necessary. We don't have to waste such resources, otherwise, it will be extinct in near future. Now, the third point, attempts should be made to develop those resources, the quantity of which can be increased. It means that the attempt should be done to increase the available resources. For example, we can increase use of the non-conventional energy resources. Now the fourth point. The resources which are cheaper and are easily available should not be wasted, but instead they should be used sparingly for future use. Sparingly means carefully. So the resources which are easily available and cheap, but it doesn't mean we have to use that resources in haphazard manner. We have to use this resource carefully. Now the fifth point, those resources which are in limited quantity should be conserved. Finding its alternative option through technical development is favorable in long term. The resources which are less, or you can say scarce, and that are the exhaustible resource such as petrol, which we use for transportation, we need to do invention of its alternative option because they are exhaustible. So instead of using petrol, we have to invent the solar car. Now the sixth point, necessary laws should be formed for the conservation of resources and should be enforced strictly. So laws should be framed for protection on and conservation of resources. In India, Mines and Minerals Act was formed in 1957 for conservation and systematic development of resources. Strict implementation of such laws should be done and punishment should be given to a person who destroy nature or do harm to nature. Now the last point, citizens should be well acquainted with all facts associated with the rational usage of resources and a public awareness should be cultivated. So the citizens should have knowledge about conservation of resources and they should understand the philosophy of sustainable development also, and different days should be celebrated such as World Environment Day, so the awareness will increase among the citizens for the protection of the nature. Citizens should give their contribution in the protection and conservation of nature.